Good morning and welcome to a virtual tutorial. Hopefully you can all hear me loud and clear. Obviously hit the yes button if you can and let's see if it works. Not sure whether the yes button works or not. However, saying that, Amy and Emma, I can see your microphones there, so you must be live at least. Um, obviously, I thought that it'd be appropriate to run through possibly the content that you might want to include in your business plan to make it remotely like something that you typically expect to find to be a distinction standard. Good morning, Angel, as well. Welcome to the webinar. Um, so I'll mute you, Angel, as well, so you can talk as well. Given that there's only 3 of us online at the moment, it's fairly easy to talk if you want to. Is everybody able to see the screen so far? Don't all shout at me. I'm assuming that's a yes. Otherwise, I'm talking to myself. You probably see that you should have some buttons where you can press a yes button, no button, go faster, go slower button. It should be on the one somewhere where it gives you an option down there. And if you do have any questions, obviously shout up as we're going through. So when it comes to you writing your business plan, what do you need to do and what do you need to include? Well, your business plan needs to be a comprehensive document. So effectively, it needs to show, if you want a distinction, these typical components. So it should be something which is professional. And as a result of that, the examiner is going to think that you actually really could set up and organize this business. So what you would do is you would set out the following areas. You'd have your first section, which talks about your business idea and your unique selling point. I'll talk about that in more detail in a minute, your unique selling point or USP. Then you'd have a section where you include market research. Now, remember, these are all about the idea you're going to run with, not all the ideas you previously planned. Then you do your aims and objectives. You do your target market. So that's going to be who you're aiming your product at, the required resources, the marketing and promotion, and then you do some financial forecasting, which actually many of you, and I think I'm talking to all 3 of you here who are online live at the moment, I've actually got some really good financial forecasting. Then finally, we do some like risk assessments, contingency planning, and timelines. What you would then be inclined to do then at that point is you would look to turn that into a presentation. So you would then present this whole thing back after you've got this comprehensive document you submit. So let's try and, does that make some sense so far, by the way?
Yeah.
Excellent. Somebody says yes. I think that's Angel. Well done, Angel. I hear somebody. So your first section of your Word document would look like this. So in the business idea, what you would do is you're treating me and the examiner and any bank manager like we are completely and utterly thick. You are trying to convince us to invest in your idea. So you are effectively setting out the following points. You're saying what your idea is. So what product or service are you selling? And you would go down to the point where you'd explain what it is. So you would literally treat me like I'm silly. I'll show you an example in a minute. Then the most important part probably here is you tell me what's unique about your product or service. So now you typically would try and stay away from pricing because obviously somebody can copy your price. So you try and think about like what features you've got, or if you are only a local business, for example, what's so unique about that? It could be like, I don't know, let's think about now, like home delivery, for example, or you're the only one in Cheadle that delivers that, or you are, let's try and think, I'm trying to think of a product like the iPhone, for example, it's the only one with iOS. So it could be, it's what is totally unique to your idea or your service. Where you're going to be based, now again, try and think about this in more detail. Don't just say like we're based in Cheadle. Try and say whereabouts in Cheadle. Why are you, or wherever you want to be, or why are you locating in the town centre, or why are you locating on the edge of the town centre? Does that free car park make a difference to you, for example? Or are you going to be let next to a certain shop for a reason? If you want a good example, looking at think about Hanley, for example, town centre, you always find that the organizations will try and locate around Marks and Spencer's. Marks and Spencer's is like a central point, so everybody tries to be around them because they naturally bring people in. So again, it's not necessarily a bad thing sometimes to be next to your rival, because actually you might be able to, or somebody who's similar to you, because they bring customers to you. And then of course the last thing really is about who is it aimed at. So that's going to be age, gender, location, maybe hobbies and interests. Again, you're trying to break it down to more detail. So how would you take those points and actually put them into something which reads like a business plan? A bit like this. Now, of course, I had to choose an example. And of course, I chose an example I love, which is now an organic honey shop. So, of course, would you expect anything different to be the case? So I have chosen a organic honey shop called OH2U. Look at that. I don't know how I think these ideas. Organic Honey to You, which will specialize in the selling of fresh honey, which has come direct from the bees hives that are based in the back garden of the shop. Now, if you look at there, that first line basically does what we talked about a minute. It says what my idea is. I've said what's unique about it, because if you're spotting it, I've said it's got selling organic honey, basically, which comes fresh from the hives at the back of the garden shop. Yeah, so it's there. Then I'm going into location now. I said the shop will locate in the high street, as this is where most people visit on a daily basis. Now, again, it's not the best example. You know, I've not gone into that much detail, but I have said it's where people are going to visit. And then I said, however, as well as this physical presence, so in other words, as well as having a shop, I'm also going to have an online presence via a website, which allows customers to order from all over the world organic honey, which will be sent to them via mail order. So you can see there that I've already set out basically at that point there, idea, what's unique about it, where am I located. And then what I've done the next bit is I've then tried to really hammer it home. So you see here, this bit here is where I've just tried to absolutely kill it by saying the unique selling point of OH2U will be the fact that all the honey is 100% organic. There's tick point 1 because I said what's unique. It's locally produced. Tick point 2 because it's totally unique. And the beehives at the back of the garden, the shop. Now, this is where you probably would be looking for a distinction to try and link it to something. So you do some market research. Clearly, you should do it properly. I can't advise it. You don't do it properly, but get the idea. So from looking at your market research, it's clear that there's no other business that specializes in this type of honey. So in other words, that's why it'll be successful. There's also be a click and collect service where people can choose to use the website, which enable them to choose to use the website, which will enable people to order when they need honey and just collect when they're passing the shop. So I've said why it's going to work. And then, of course, I've linked it back to market research again, because look, I've said now, who are my customers? So I've just gone there and gone, my market research informed me that my target market are going to be women, aged between 25 and 45, who have a middle or higher income, and look after the family. If you look at what I've done there, I've done gender, age, basic income, and I've said what their interests are. They've got a family. I've also then gone and done location, because I said they're going to typically live within 5 miles of the shop in the local area. Then I've gone the online customers are the same sort of gender and age, but they live further away, but they're going to have an interest and connection in the area because they're buying it online. And at that point there, I've covered everything you need to cover, literally, for the first section and the first part of your plan. Because if I get back to my slides now, he says trying to press this button. I don't know if I can do this by now. Okay, I can. Yes, I can. Isn't it weird how I'm finally learning how to use this stuff? If you look at my first point there, it says what the product is, what's unique, where you're going to be based, who you're aiming at. And that is the first section basically covered. Tick those boxes and you're well on your way to ticking the first part of your business idea and unique selling point. Did that make sense so far?
Yes.
Oh, yes, they're all talking to me now. Right. Have you got any questions on that section for me? Silence says it all, I think. All right. Now, do you want me to show you the next section, the market research part, or would you like me to keep that in a separate section while you all go away and work on making sure you've got that to that same point? We have silence. Uh, right. If you want to, we can do a little poll because the polls are. If you do a little poll, nobody else can see what you're saying. So, and then you can all like interact. I think you should have a button that says yes, no, or whatever. So if I ask the question, and you can answer yes or no, would you like me to move on to the market research section, or would you like me to stop there? So that'll be a no, in other words, and then you can work on this business idea and unique selling point section first. So if you hit the yes or the no button, I think that comes through to me, boy, nobody else. Okay, I've got one who's hit the button now. Thank you. Just waiting for everybody else to hit. Oh yeah, okay. I got two hit the button now. Just waiting. I think the 2 out of the. Right. Okay. I think that's the consensus. You'd like me to look at the market research bit as well. So I'll share the market research bit as well. So let's move forward to this bit. So we've got that bit there, and now we'd have a next section. So your next section, your plan would be called market research. Now, again, remember, this is now about your idea because you are convincing me of the idea you're running with. So forget the other 3 ideas. Obviously, yeah, you're running with one of them, but just don't worry about the other 2. You're doing it just solely for that idea. So what you've got to do now for me is you have to, in this section, show me, firstly, you understand who your competitors are. And we'll look at that in more detail in a minute. Basically, strengths, weaknesses of them and who are they, where they're located, for example. Then you need to obviously conduct some secondary research. Now, secondary research, if you're not aware, is research that you do on the internet, basically, or it's done for you somewhere else. So it might be, typically, we're going to be looking on the internet here. We're going to look at probably websites, market research reports. I'll show you some information. I can do that in a minute to help you to do that. And then you're going to do some primary research. So you should do a questionnaire or a survey, an observation study. Again, bit tricky at the moment because you're not allowed out. I don't think that's an essential need to go and do an observation study, but you never know. We possibly could do. And then obviously you've got to summarize your findings and tell me what impact that has on your idea. By the way, that bit down there, bullet point 4 is distinction, effectively. Summarizing what you've got as distinction. If you want to think about it in the levels, the pass and the merit is all about basically doing the research, the summarizing and explaining how it impacts on your idea and drawing some conclusions is the distinction. So let's see how this works. Now, trust me, this is a bit more time consuming, but you can do it. I have done this myself. I click the wrong button there. Right. So first section here is you make a subsection called competition analysis. Now, the way I recommend you do this is you create a table. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I only made one of these because I thought, well, this could be like, I probably should have 3 competitors here, if I'm being totally honest. But I've tried to do it so I show you something different. If you think about my business, a honey shop, realistically, we're not going to have anybody else in Cheadle who is selling organic honey. In fact, you're not going to have anybody anywhere else, probably apart from a farm shop, maybe miles away. Now, I could list them if I went into the internet and found out who they are, but I'm going to try to think who sells honey, in other words. So who's similar to me? So I took Morrison's, and then I put location on the edge of the town centre. I probably should have put the exact location or maybe put a little copy of a map in there, but, it was just trying to give you an example there. And then what I did then was, and literally you can do this, I just bullet point the strengths and the weaknesses of that competitor. So the strengths were like well-known brand and able to advertise on TV and newspapers. So I thought about like Morrison's as a brand, the free customer car parking, loyal customers. So the customers that come there already stocks a wide range of products. So maybe people go there because they want to buy everything. Lower prices because they can buy in bulk. So I'm sure you're all aware of that because they're a supermarket, they can buy loads and loads of products. So they can buy the honey cheaper anyway. Then I put out the weaknesses. They don't specialize in honey. They've only got a small selection of honey products. They don't sell local honey. Customers have to queue at the checkout. So, I'm trying to think there. What are the drawbacks? There probably are more. I'm sure if I threw it out there, you could all give me different drawbacks. Maybe want to chuck me a drawback in there, Morrison's? No. This is great. I'll tell you one thing. I do love your participation rates at the moment. Thank you. You're doing really well. You get the idea, though, hopefully, that you can see you did that. And you probably would do that for 3 different organizations. Remember, try and think, if you've got no direct competitors because your idea is totally unique, try and think who's similar to you. And if your business idea is like an app, for example, or it's a more global-based product, then obviously you've got to try and think about competitors that are more national or global or do similar things to you. And if you're obviously a local business, you want to try and look in the local area who could have an impact on you. So that's the first part of this. So that'll take you a little bit of time to think about. And obviously it involves a bit of thought process. And then you delve into market research. Now, my advice is you start with secondary research. Now, secondary research, I would advise you get from the internet or some market reports. Now, this is not going to be easy. It will literally take a little bit of time to do some searching. You might have to use Google or any other search engine. And what you should probably be doing is typing in keywords and then clicking on like news, for example, and reading articles. So you can see here that I did a search for the UK honey market. Yeah. And then I did like sales in the UK honey market and how much is the UK honey market worth. Yeah. And typical trends in the UK honey market. So you can see what I've used keywords there try and latch onto. And I came across basically this report on the bottom. You see there, that's cbi.eu. And that's a market report, basically. It was linked to Google, so I took some of the graphs. I thought they were quite useful. So what I've done here is I've done a little bit of spiel where I've said I've conducted some secondary market research to try and help me establish demand for honey and the trends in the market. So in other words, how much people want to buy honey and what trends are there. And I've used the internet research for this and found some market reports, which obviously provide statistics, which are happening. And here's some of the key points. Now, notice what I've done. I've just summarized. This does not require you to do literally, you just pick out key points. So I picked out that in 2013, UK buyers purchased 262 tons of organic honey. Great stat. Yeah, that's good for my business because it means people are buying it. The UK is the second largest European market for honey after Germany. Again, great stat for my business. I could also argue maybe I should translate my website into German because obviously German is the most popular. So that could be one of the conclusions you draw from this. The UK is got decreasing honey production. So I said that's a positive thing because actually there's less competitors. You could always turn it around and say it's a bad thing because people aren't producing honey. Maybe there's no need for honey. But then I've got there, demand for honey is actually going up to 54%. And you can see I put a nice little graph in there. The production of honey, obviously in the UK, and the consumption's going up. So that's going to be great for my business. So you can see there is some secondary research. Like I say, that is not going to be easy. That involves some research. I'm willing to help you with this, by the way, because obviously this is quite tricky. And that's where the high level comes from, because it's that research section. Then this is where it takes time consuming, if I'm being totally honest. So the last bit where you think that's time consuming, this becomes time consuming because you have to do some primary research. And that means you carry out the research. Could be a survey, so a questionnaire, for example. Could be an observation. You could go stand into the town centre, for example, and observe the number of people that walk past the shop that you want to use, for example, or one of your competitors. So you could go and count them. We could do a focus group where you literally get 12 people together around the table and you've asked them what their thoughts are. So maybe you get your target audience. Let's just hypothetically say that in my business here, I got those 25 to 45-year-old women. And I got 12 of them to sit around the table and I asked them questions, what they thought about something. That would be called a focus group. You probably see focus groups when we think about student voice. That's what we do there. That's a focus group. So what I've linked here is quantitative and qualitative questions. I'm sure we're all well aware that quantitative questions are questions that you can graph, numbers, quantify. So any question that's closed off, so like yes, no, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or agree, strongly agree, disagree. Those are all quantitative questions. Qualitative questions are the ones where you get feelings, so you leave it more open. I would suggest you get quantitative questions so that actually you can graph them. Right, now I've said here that I've got 50 people in the town, right, and what I've done there is I've then basically gone out and graphed it. So you can see here, I went into Excel, and I'm sure you can all, can everybody use Excel, by the way? Everybody okay with Excel?
Yeah.
Excellent, good. Right, as I went into Excel and I made graphs and I did this basically. So I just literally made myself, there's my gender question. So there you are, I went away. Think about the logic here, boy. I'm showing now a higher level understanding already because I told you my target audience is female. So I've gone away and I've actually gone and found out only a female. So, got to make sure I've got more females naturally. That's logical. Then I did think of the age thing here. I made sure that I got people who were 25 to 45. Now, they weren't the largest group because there's more older people, but I did make sure that it fitted my target audience. And then I said, do you like honey? Pretty obvious question. Then I asked, if yes to question 3, how often do you purchase honey? And you can see there that most of them purchase it at least monthly. So then we can do some analysis in a minute, right? Then I did the question, obviously, how much do you spend on honey? So I graphed that one there. Then I did if local, would you purchase locally produced honey? Yes, apparently they would. Yeah, so you can see that it's going well so far for me on this one. If where'd you purchase it from? Well, most apparently get it from a supermarket. So you can see my main rivals, but some go to a farm shop. Then would you consider ordering honey online for home delivery? And I've 76% said yes, they would. So actually some wouldn't, in fairness. Which of the following have you seen and used in the last few days? And that's kind of helped my marketing way. You'll see where this comes in later in our business plan. But I've basically done a question where I try to find out, if you think about here, where do they go to find out information about where they get products from? And you can see I've put that information there. And then, I'm gone too far there. So there's my questions there. And then what I've gone to do to get this higher level grade, I've then carried out some analysis And this is where it comes from. So I've then basically said that my market research, now summarising both bits here, remember, primary and secondary market research. So I said it's clear from my market research that there is a potential for a honey shop to be successful in the UK. And I've said because the UK honey market is growing by 54% and it's falling, so production of honey is falling by 25%. This means that there's a real potential to grow as an organic producer, and the UK is the second largest. Now look at that. What I've done there is I've taken the stats and I've justified them. High level answer. Then I've gone to my secondary research and I've done the same trick here. My primary research shows me that 80% of people like honey and 64% of people buy honey at least monthly. So what I've done there, guys, if you get back to that graph, let's see if we can go back to it there, because it's a bit of an analysis one. I've actually looked at them. I've got my 44, my 16 and my 4, and I've added them together. Because that obviously then tells me that most people buy it at least monthly, which is good for my business, because obviously it shows enough demand. I've also researched and found out the population locally. Now that's secondary research. I did a bit of Google search. I found out the population of Cheadle was 12,168 people who potentially use my business. And I found out that 76% of people will be willing to spend at least £3 on my business. Now I could use those stats later to work out roughly how many jars of honey I'm going to sell. 76% of people said they could consider using it online, which is positive because it's one of my unique selling points. So see, I've got to use some keywords there, going back to my idea. And 54% said they would use social media because they thought it was a good idea. And basically, that's good for me because I was going to use social media. That then would be how I'd start to analyze. Now, I could go in more detail. I'll be honest with you, I could go into way more detail if I really wanted to. But that is all down to real personal choice. Oh, hello, Shanice. You've come to join us, have you, as well now? That's great. Give Shanice a little wave as well, shall I? In fact, I probably should put the video on, actually. If I could do. I can't remember how I put my video on now. Yeah. So hopefully that makes some sense on the market research. Everybody happy with that on the market research? You can press the yes button if you really want to down the bottom. You don't have to shout out to me. It's quiet. Everybody's gone quiet. Which I don't know where that's.
Yes.
Oh, there you all got a yes. Well done. That's what I like to hear. That's fantastic. Right. So far what we've got there is you've now got basically your footings for your plan. So that is the logic of the plan there. I just worked out to put my camera on. I think I'll put my camera on for you so I can give you a little wave. I think. Am I there? I think I'm there. Oh, hello, Lixie. I'm here. Hopefully appear on your screen. There you go. Why do I just know that Angel's probably despairing as she sees that, and Amy's like, oh my god. Right. So technically speaking, that's probably where we need to get up to. If I'm being honest, I can do another session where I'll get into more detail on the other further section about aims and objectives. I think it would probably make more sense now for you to really focus on making sure that you get the sections that we talked about down here. So you make sure that your business plan has got a really strong understanding of a unique selling point, and it's got the market research, which is really good as well, because otherwise that's where potentially it could go a little bit wonky donkey. I think that's one of the most important things to do. So I think from my point of view, that's really where you need to be at. And then we can look in more detail once you've got that. If you want to do it on the shared drive and share the document with me, I can see it while you're working on it live. I don't mind doing that by the way. And obviously I can always take any questions you want as well. But I think that for me is where you need to get to. But the first thing I should say now is, have you got any questions? So feel free to shout out any questions. Nobody will bite, I'm pretty sure. You're all nice, good, friendly people. I'll tell you what, I'll target the questions. Amy, have you got any questions you'd like to ask me what I've covered so far?
No.
That's good. Does that all make sense so far, Amy?
Yeah.
Excellent. Are you having fun as well?
Yeah.
Look on the bright side, it'll soon all be over. That's a positive. Angel, is everything okay for you?
Yes.
Any questions you'd like to ask?
No.
Okay. Well, okay, that's a typical Angel approach, isn't it? Emma, is everything okay for you?
Yeah.
Excellent. Any questions you want to ask?
No.
Excellent. That's a win. Shanice, everything okay for you?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's gone quiet. Any questions you want to ask? Because you maybe missed a
No.
few bits, didn't you, beforehand? Oh, no, she put no. I get that. Thank you, Shanice. She's like, I'm not talking to you. Right, so what I can do, boy, is I will
That's so
send you a
weird.
recording, hopefully, of this, so you can look back over what we covered anyway if you get stuck, if that's useful. I'll just email it out to you four, so you got a copy of it as well. And basically, if you have any other questions, drop me an email, and probably later in the week, I will then go through the other sections with you. But I think it's really important, probably, you really focus on making sure you've got a really strong footing on the idea and the market research. I'll be honest with you, I have no concerns about your finance. I think I'm talking to everybody here who can have some amazing financial forecasts. And that obviously is one of the key points ultimately. But I think that you need to make sure you've got your good, strong foundations to start with. So as long as everybody's happy, I think you might as well crack on and see what you can do. And I'll obviously be at the other end of an email. And obviously I'll drop you an email if we can go and do another session where I'll take on aims, objectives, and target market at a later date for you. So have a cracking rest of your Monday, and I'm sure you're having great fun. And make sure you do actually take some time later to exercise as well and get yourselves out of the house. And until next time, I'm going to say it now. Keep buzzing.